I once lived about 15, 16 years ago. I lived for an entire year on a farm, you know, a very small farm. It was an elderly couple, and I was hired in to live on the farm and help out. That somehow set me off on this, or at least gave me insight into a farmer's life from a very personal experience. And I guess over the years it's just been sort of by osmosis. And watching over the last 15 years sort of a gradual disintegration of respect for what small farmers represented as a way of life. And I don't know, I just began to look at nature, and especially, of course, the cows, who was a dominant factor, with a whole different viewpoint. It was one of those things, you thumb through a National Geographic magazine somewhere, in some office somewhere or something, and I remember distinctly seeing a photograph of an indigenous people. I think they were a nomadic tribe. It showed them with a scarification, scarified designs on their skin, and transferred those designs to their animals. And I mean, they didn't cover the entire animals like I've done, but they would do some of these designs on portions of their bodies, and I thought it was just so sensitive and so gorgeous and so meaningful. And it seemed to somehow have this, it symbolized to me a statement of just commitment to a way of life and connection to the very organic life that they lead.
Family came down from Canada, I'm not sure when, probably in the early 20s, little town named St. Catherine. And they came down to Bolton, and then they went through the flood in 27, and then they moved up to Essex, down the road here. My mom's family came from Canada too, up near St. Hyacinth. They came down to Westford here, and they farmed down near the village. My dad, he had a little store in the grain business in the village, and the grain business burnt, so he bought the farm. That was probably in '66. He hated it for a few years and rented it out, and then I decided in '73 to farm.
Most of my adult life I've been so-called hobby farming on the side in various ways. Not with dairy cows or beef. And opportunity came about 3 years ago to work here for the guy who rented this farm. And he was probably the leading grass farmer, if I can use that term. When he went to buy his own farm last year, I moved in, rented the farm. So I've been here just a little bit over a year on my own. So I'm relatively new to this whole dairy business.
good life, and I liked the open land around me, and I couldn't afford to keep this land open if I didn't do crops and feed the animals,
Right.
you know, take care of. I just couldn't, you know. I don't know how I could afford the taxes and own the land.
I love the independence, being able to work for myself, making my own decisions, working with animals, working with the land, working outside, except sometimes in the winter. And this facility here is a little bit rough, and it's an open freestall, and the parlor is not heated except by the cows themselves.
Well, long hours and, you know, 7 days a week. That's the hard part. But what isn't, you know? If you get a 40-hour job, you're going to have a hard time making it with a 40-hour job. You got to work extra hours. But it'd be nice to get through your 8-hour day and just walk away from it and leave it. You never really leave it here, you know. It's here.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because, you know, during the summer, you know, my little brother has friends over, you know, quite a lot every week, you know. But I'm so involved around here, I usually never have but a couple friends, you know. I have a friend that moved down to Florida a couple years ago, and he comes up in the summer. And it's kind of nice because he kind of likes to farm too, so he helps us hay, you know. I get to, you know, be around him quite a bit, and it's kind of fun. So I don't really, you know, I have friends when I go to school, but in the summer, you know, there's not much I do except for a couple birthday parties maybe, but
What's your mom think?
the way Dad's, you know, lived, you know, she doesn't really want me getting the same thing, you know, working all week, you know, long hours. So she doesn't really, she's not too fond of it, but she knows I like it, so she doesn't say too much.
I'm coming in late in the game, and my joints are beginning to bother me. This last storm front that came through gave me some concern about the future, and I don't think that no matter how much I want to work, I'm going to be limited or going to end up being rather crippled later on in life. When it hits 30 below and you have to warm your hands on the milk jars to keep warm, the source of heat is the milk and the cows themselves, and I can't term it as fun work, even though farming in itself in a general way is fun. There are chores that are not pleasant, obviously. I think there's a lot of naive interest and that interest in the pastoral scenery and so on, but I think the appreciation for that running a tough business, it's really difficult to convey unless you actually get out there and do it.
The land is disappearing, you know, good farmland, especially here in Chittenden County. I mean, they talk about preserving wetlands, and that's good, you know, land for wildlife, but if they don't start thinking about the farmland, they're going to wake up hungry someday. It's going to be gone. The last crop you plant is concrete.